Psalm 19, 1-4. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Day to day utters speech, and night to night shows knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them has he set a tabernacle for the sun. Psalm 147:4. He tells the number of the stars. He calls them all by their names. Long before there was a Bible, God's plan was told through pictures in the sky. The names of the stars and constellations proclaimed his glory and his plan. This is part 2 of chapter 8 of Awake Bride, which will focus on Jesus' birth. Revelation 12, 1, 2, and 5. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God and to his throne. God knew our calendars would go through many changes before the end times. He also knew what kind of technology we would have in the end times. God had his beloved disciple John record the night sky at the time of Jesus' birth so that we could have an accurate date for his first coming. The woman is the constellation Virgo. The crown of 12 stars is the constellation now called Bernice's hair. Virgo clothed with sun, with the moon at her feet, usually occurs every other year. Using star chart dating software to find when the moon was under Virgo's feet with the sun still visible between 11 and 1 BC, a remarkable result was found. Of the 12 constellations in the zodiac, Virgo is the largest. The sun takes 44 days to pass through Virgo, from late summer to the autumn equinox. Many of the stories associated with Virgo involve a king or male god who dies and is reborn again in the spring. In Egypt, Virgo was called Aspolio, which means the seed. In 3 BC, the constellation Virgo, clothed with the sun as it entered the mid-body in its ecliptic course, had the moon under her feet on one day only, Wednesday, September 11th. This configuration was visible in the Palestine area between 6:18 and 7:39 p.m., which was sunset on that day. During these 81 minutes, Jesus Christ was born. As written by Victor Paul Weirville in Jesus Christ Our Promised Seed. The 13 stars of Virgo include the bright star Spica, the seed of the wheat. The constellation of Coma is the crown of 12 stars above the Virgin's head. Coma means the desired one, and shows a woman with infant, the desire of all nations shall come. Haggai 2:7. September 11th, 3 BC, fell on the first day of the month of Tishri, Rosh Hashanah, or New Year's Day. It is the feast day of blowing of trumpets to celebrate the king's coronation. Since it is the only feast on a new moon, shouts of Mikodesh, it is consecrated, would have been heard. It is a tradition that the first day of the first year was the day that the first Adam was formed, and it was the birthday of the second Adam as well. The first Adam sinned, yet a seed was promised who would crush Satan's head, and so Hebrews would read about the miraculous birth of Isaac and how God redeemed his life with the ram caught in a thicket. Therefore a ram's horn, shofar, is blown in memory of God's past redemption, looking forward to the hope of his final redemption of mankind. There was a combined census and oath of allegiance to Caesar Augustus in 3 BC. This corresponded with the 750th anniversary of the founding of Rome and with the 25th anniversary of the reign of Augustus. Venus and Jesus are both called morning star. Venus and Jupiter are the two brightest objects in the night sky after the moon. On August 12th, 3 BC, the two planets almost seemed to touch. Jupiter is known as righteousness and the royal planet. Melchizedek means king of righteousness. The astronomers of the East we call Magi are watching the night sky for signs of the coming King of the Jews. They know Judah is represented as a lion in the sky. On August 12th, Jupiter and Venus are in conjunction in Leo, and they begin taking detailed notes of their observations. Within the next months, Regulus, the king star, and Jupiter, the king planet, make several conjunctions. On June 17th, 2 BC, from Babylon, Jupiter and Venus would have seemed to merge into one in the west toward Judea. On August 24th, Jupiter, Mars, and Mercury are in conjunction resembling a scepter between the feet of Leo. This finally gets the Magi packing for the long trip to visit the King of the Jews. Because Jupiter's orbital path is so far from ours, it appears to go backwards as we orbit the Sun, which is called retrograde. Between its two conjunctions with Venus, the light blue circles, Jupiter came into conjunction 3 times with Regulus, the royal star, in the constellation Leo. Thus the royal planet was in conjunction with the royal star within the royal constellation. These conjunctions occurred on the following dates encircling Regulus like a crown. September 14th, 3 BC, amidst days of awe between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. February 17th, 2 BC, after stopping in its path on December 1st and 3rd and beginning its annual retrogression, Jupiter again moved into conjunction with Regulus on this date in Purim. And then May 8th, 2 BC, which was Shavuot Pentecost, after once again heading forward, Jupiter and Regulus came into conjunction on this date for the 3rd time in 8 months. When the Magi arrive in Jerusalem a few months after their departure, the Magi start asking, "Where is he born King of the Jews?" This stirred up all Jerusalem, and when Herod gets wind of it, he gets the scribes to find out what the scripture says, and they tell him a governor will be born in Bethlehem. Herod privately calls the Magi to inquire the exact time they saw this star appear, and they give him the date August 12, 3 BC. So this young child must be at least 1 year and 3 months old. To be safe, Herod later has all boys 2 and under killed. Matthew 2, 9-12. When they had heard the king, they departed, and see, the star which they saw in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented to him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. Stood over is when a star reaches its second stationary point in the evening. The planet Jupiter began to be seen crossing its meridian, the high point, by December 4th at 6:09 a.m. Jupiter continued to rise 4 minutes earlier each day. By December 24th, Jupiter crossed the meridian at 4:44 a.m. After the Magi depart, then the angel of the Lord appears to Joseph and tells him to get his family out of there. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on his heads. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up to God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. The woman is the Virgin Mary, who gives birth to Jesus. Satan tried to kill Jesus as a baby via King Herod. We know that Joseph and Mary fled with infant Jesus to Egypt. We don't know exactly how long they were there, but that when they returned, they settled in Nazareth. But according to tradition, they spent 3.5 years, or 1,260 days, in Egypt. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. Who has heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in 1 day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children. Isaiah 66 seems to be the closest match in all of Scriptures to the passage in Revelation 12. They both speak of the birth of a male child and the nation he represents. Before Messiah returned, the nation of Israel had to be reborn, which took place in a day in 1948.